So in another one of my videos, I was discussing the idea that I have started a project on a family tree, and I had shown the, you know, how it looks at this point in time. Nothing special, just on a piece of paper, but it's really valuable in that it has, it's just a way of starting to record history within my own family. I think that video where I discussed that was 6 quirky but priceless gifts for your kids. Yeah, that one. Okay. And the relevance of this, of the family tree, was discussed when I had mentioned that we all, especially children, want to be grounded within a family and want to know that we have a place within a family. So I've been lucky enough to have on or be able to document on my family tree 7 generations. So I've documented through to 2017 all the births of family members, and taken that right back through to the 1860s. So we've gone from the 21st century back through the 19th century, and my family spans the globe in terms of where we currently are. So we have family stateside, family in the UK, family in obviously Jamaica, and I want to say Canada, because that will be on my dad's side. So I know we have some Canadian people there, and I know that there's a family member here, the one who I said we can trace to the 1860s, and I think that she would be the link between our Jamaican heritage and our African heritage. I just don't have the information on hand now, and actually I think I'm going to be leaving that information for Generation Next to to make it their project, because I have about 20 odd nephews and nieces, and most of them are grown adults at this point in time, and they've expressed an interest in the family history. So what I'm really discussing in this video is how do I take this and make it into something more presentable to give to my other family members, for them to do their own research and work on this. So right now I have this on a huge sheet of paper, right? And I've gone back, like I mentioned, this is the 21st century, so all the youth that have been born in that 20th, 21st century. So this is mine. If you look at, I have it according to generation. So this line will be my generation. So somewhere I am on this with my other, 6 sisters, right, and all their children. And then the generation after this is made up of all my nephews and nieces, and then underneath that, grandnephews and nieces, my own, grandchildren here, along this line here, and this level here, which is blank, is for generation yet to come, right? But as you go up, so like I said, I'm somewhere around here, and then here, going up another generation, parents, next generation grandparents, next generation great-grandparents, and then up here, that's great, what is she? That's my great-grandmother. Yeah, great-grandmother. and that would be the link. This one here will be the link between our Jamaican roots and our African roots, and this is the generation here on this level that links to Africa. That will be the 1860s, and I've kind of gotten that just by reading through Jamaican history, British history, and obviously talking to the Windrush generation and getting that information. How do you take this information and make it into something that's first of all a bit more updated, take it from the paper form and maybe put it into some kind of electronic format? Is there an app that I can use, like a genealogical app or a genealogy app that I can use to take this information? Because I'll be very interested in doing that, because right now it's all pretty spread out, and it really is, everything here really is just name, first, last name, year that person was born and maybe passed, and then, like I said, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 generations here. But I want to make this more formal and be able to just give this to every family member, because I think it's the youth, their time to be able to look at this and to make of it what they will. And I have something here where it says history is made up of parallels. There's a quote that I got. I'm not sure where the quote came. It's not my own. But when I have listened to Generation, look at Generation Next, when I listen to the Windrush Generation, look at my own generation, I know that definitely is true, that history is made up of parallels. So I'm just kind of rambling on a bit, but really I'm really interested in anyone who can tell me what to do with this information. Have you ever started to put together a family tree? I guess maybe in this format first, and then taking it now to a whole other level, especially using technology and formatting it on any kind of app or program. But I think it needs to go beyond this stage now, and it needs to be, the information needs to be used on another level. It is very interesting history. Most of my family, for example, have Jamaican roots, starting with my parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents. So we have 3 generations from the early 1900s and going, back in the days to, like I said, 1860s in Jamaica, born and raised in Jamaica. We have just some interesting family facts. We have 1 set of twins in the family, and we haven't had it passed down to any generation, so I know that for my nephews and nieces, any one of them will probably produce twins. We have market people in the family, tailors, seamstress, builders. My family would have, somewhere in that generation, would have experienced the earthquake in Jamaica in 1903. Very interesting history. So it's something that if you're ever going to start a project in terms of your family tree, you really do want to get your children involved, because remember, at some point when you've gotten all the information that you want them to have the interest and the desire to continue that history on, even if it's not going back into the past, maybe it's just in terms of keeping up with the history in the future, you know, documenting who was born and when and to who. See, like I said, and this is the tree here, I'm somewhere here, right? This line is my generation. You have 2 generations under us. So realistically, if I live to be the right old age of 100, so I've got 50, oh wait, I've got 49 more years, then there could possibly be another 2 to 3 generations under that. When you really think about that, I mean, that's, do you ever see the movie Roots, and you ever wonder, wow, you know, how the generations came together and time that went by? And this really shows you, when you look at it, that these are your own roots, you know. I'll be interested to hear from anyone who has put together like a family tree like this, and can really just document the generations and how far were you able to go back. Like I said, in my own family, for my information here, it's been through to the 1860s, and I'm sure there are many people who can go back much further than that, you know. I'm sure that some of you might be thinking, oh, you can't put together a family tree, but think about it. If you start with yourself here, let's say on this level, you just go back another generation, your mum and dad, you go back, your grandparents, and some of you may not even have known them. Like I never knew any of my grandparents, so all info that I got regarding them came from my mum and came from my aunt. So you don't have to know these people, but it's important, I think, to at least document who they were, right? And at least find out some of the basics, when they were born, where they were born, you know, what careers they may have had, what did they do in terms of, you know, their livelihoods. And you might be surprised to find how it just opens up a whole new world, and it gives your family a whole new grounding, you know, especially for the younger ones. Do you remember in the video that I did called Talking Too Much? Yeah, Talking Too Much, Blossom Hindsight. Looks like this. Yeah, in that video I made a point that I feel that the generation after us, generation next, there's a certain void that needs to be filled, and there's a certain disconnect between the generations, and I really say part of it is because they do not feel grounded in their own lives as young people, and they don't feel grounded to family. And I think that if you who might be watching me now, anyone who takes an interest within a family should at least make an effort to document history. You might not see the relevance of it, but you don't know what impact you may make just in terms of this information. I don't know, for example, you know, among my nephews and nieces, my grandchildren, my grandnephews and nieces, I don't know who among them in the future may take this and become like a next Alex Haley, in their own right. Someone who takes a deep interest in the history, writes about the history, travels to these areas. I'm hoping that somewhere in the future, someone makes an effort to see where we possibly came from in Africa, you know. We have one link here in the entire generations, right? And that is my great grandmother. And let me just verify that, yeah, because that would be my grandmother. Great. So great-great, right, great-great-grandmother, and that will be on my maternal grandmother, so that's on my mum's side. She is the link. She would have been our African link in Jamaica. And you know what? Think about it. Think about our history, right? Especially if you're like me, black British, born in England to Caribbean parents, and in this case Jamaican parents, that somewhere in the lineage we had to have someone who was taken from Jamaica, from Africa, and brought to Jamaica, because that is the history of Jamaica. Most of the black people, right, in Jamaica were there through the slave trade. So I'll be very pleased to know that one of this generation, right, has takes an interest, or will take an interest. And so let me find out who that person may be. Some of the bones are here, in terms of, you know, at least looking up the generations and the names in the family, the time frames. Maybe we have a historian who is yet to come. So give me some feedback. I am looking for some options in terms of being able to take my family tree and put it into an electronic format, some type of app that will allow me to just plug in the different generations, the names, you know, and to kind of just make it more formal so I can share this with the rest of my family. And if any one of you have done that, and specifically you are of Jamaican heritage and you've been able to make a connection, or definitely find out the history of the Africa to Jamaica connection, I'll be very interested in hearing from you in terms of what were your resources and where did you go to get the info. Like I said, I've been able to trace back to the 1860s on my maternal side, and I'd like to see, you know, what other options there are out there that I can use to, you know, go back even further. Okay, that was kind of off the cuff, but I thank you for sharing your time with me. Not much hindsight, but history of hindsight. But give me some feedback in that. Would love to be able to work more on this and to you know, find some ways to, you know, get this information in an electronic format. I hope that my hindsight has and will inspire you, and that you will find your own way to blossom.